friends, we gather together this morning to celebrate the life and to honor the memory of Edith Smith. Edith's family so very much appreciates your presence here with us, which offers them a great deal of comfort and support. Adonai ma'adam v'teda ehu ben enosh v'chashvehu. O Lord, what are we that you have regard for us? What are we that you are mindful of us? We are like a breath. Our days are as a passing shadow. We come and we go like grass, which in the morning shoots up renewed, in the evening it fades and it withers. You cause us to turn to dust, saying, "Return, you mortal creatures." Would that we were wise, that we understood whither we are going. For when we die, we carry nothing away. Our glory does not accompany us. Mark the wholehearted and behold the upright. They shall have peace. When we examine the Bible's 150 Psalms, we can easily think that the arrangement is random and somebody just put together those great poems. But in fact, it is not random, and especially when we look at the first Psalm and the last Psalm. And the first Psalm describes what the Psalms are driving at. What is the point and the goal of a life well lived? And I want to read it now. Happy are those who have not followed the counsel of the wicked, or taken the path of sinners, or joined the company of the insolent. Rather, the teaching of God is their delight, and they study that teaching day and night. They are like a tree planted beside streams of water, that yields its fruit in its season, whose foliage never fades, and whose fruit always flourishes. Let's join together now in the 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Kohelet, the author of the biblical book of Ecclesiastes, reminds us that for everything there is a season, a time for every experience under the heavens, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot what is planted, a time to tear down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to grieve and a time to dance, a time to throw stones and a time to gather stones, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to seek and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to discard, a time to tear and a time to sow, a time to keep silence and a time to speak. Edith Smith died this past Wednesday at the age of 96. She lived a long life, a complex life, and a life filled with love and devotion, but not without a measure of pain. Those of us who loved and admired her will never forget her. Edie was born to her parents, Simon and Ida, and she was raised in the Bronx. Now, her parents were immigrants who had fled from great dangers in Europe and who naturally maintained some of their old world ways. For example, when Edie had earned a scholarship to attend Hunter College, her father said no, because girls, he insisted, shouldn't go to college. But Edie was not deterred by this blow. Rather, she took the initiative and went to work in order to make the money she needed for college. and a job at Macy's was the means to that end. And when the opportunity presented itself, she paid the tuition at the City College of New York herself and proceeded to earn her bachelor's degree there, studying business administration. Indeed, as her daughter Devorah told me when I met with her and her brother Jonathan yesterday afternoon, their mother was, and I quote, a feminist before feminism. When Edie was 22 or 23, she met a wonderful man named Bernie Smith, and the couple was married on April 4th, 1951. Soon, Edie and Bernie moved to Cleveland so that Bernie could pursue his master's degree in social work at Western Reserve University. And during their early time in Cleveland, the young couple lived in the dangerous projects on Cedar Road, where Edie was deeply unhappy. Fortunately, she and Bernie were eventually able to relocate to a safer environment before too long. And eventually, Edie received her own master's degree in social work, also from Western Reserve University, and unsurprisingly, Edie soon became a highly regarded and sought-after child analyst, working in that capacity often for 50 hours a week and between the years 1970 and 1998. She did most of this work when she and Bernie lived in McLean, Virginia. Indeed, Edith Smith lived a varied, challenging, and fulfilling life as wife and mother and grandmother, and as a successful professional. But at this point, I want to spend a few additional moments reflecting on the person Edith Smith was. Now, when I asked Devorah and Jonathan to describe their mother to me, they both came forth with a profusion of revealing adjectives. Their mother was, they said, a deeply caring and deeply empathic person. She treated everyone with respect, and she would not tolerate that language that disparaged others or that had a whiff of prejudice. Indeed, Edith Smith's humanism was deeply embedded in the person she was. Moreover, Edie was supremely intelligent and intuitive, sharp and brilliant were the words Jonathan and Devorah used. In addition to these exceptional qualities, Edie was resilient, persistent, and proud. When faced with a setback or with a challenge, Edie soldiered on, reluctant to give in or to give up. She was also fierce in the pursuit of her values. When, for example, she knew in her heart and in her mind what was right in a given situation, she was not afraid to act on it, and if challenged, she was not bashful about defending her position and her decision with strength and with determination. Moreover, when a task needed doing, Edie was often the person called upon to do it, because everyone knew that Edie, and I quote, would make it happen. And these are some of the reasons why Edie was so respected at Wiggins, where she and Bernie lived in their final years. And she was deeply loved by her aides. Now, I was so fortunate to know and to love both Bernie and Edie. The two of them regularly came to our Shabbat morning Torah study sessions. They sat regularly up front and often offered comments about aspects of our conversations. I remember Bernie's penetrating comments and questions, and I remember Edie's great attentiveness and her warm and appreciative smile. She and I had several conversations over the years, and I was always moved by her gentleness, her sense of humor, and her sometimes ironic approach to certain elements of the human condition. She was a wonderful person and a dear friend, and I will miss her very much. Edie is survived by her 2 children, Devorah and Jonathan, by her son-in-law and daughter-in-law, Joe and Lena, and by her 5 grandchildren, Aaron, Ariel and Adam, Ilana, Kai, and Ari, all of whom she adored and deeply nurtured in so many impactful ways. She was predeceased by her parents and by her beloved husband of 72 years, Bernie. Edith Smith is now gone from our view, but she will always have an important place in our hearts. Zichrona livracha, the memory of Edith Smith will always be our blessing. Amen. I now want to call on several people who will reflect on the life, the qualities, the accomplishments of Edith Smith. First, her daughter, Devorah.
Thank you. You make me remember my mother in different ways. Thank you. I am so blessed to have had my mother for 7 decades. Wow. She was brilliant, kind, devoted, loving, and fierce. I am not fierce, but that's my work for this coming decade. Mom also saved my life. When my much-wanted first child, Aaron, was born, he suffered from extreme brain damage. He was unable to see, hear, regulate his body, cry, nor relate. With the doctors planned a feeding tube surgery, Mom went into action, breaking every rule of NICU. She took a pacifier out of a package and started putting it into his mouth and taught him how to suck. And when he was older, when experts at Boston were stumped by a dangerous and challenging behavior, Mom sent for Aaron and I to visit her and gather her professional contacts. And we worked together until we figured out how to take care of that behavior. For the rest of Aaron's life, until he was placed in residential treatment at age 9, Mom would regularly fly me so they could take care of me while I took care of Aaron. Because of Mom's help, Joe and I felt strong and ready enough to expand our family. Our lovely daughters, Ariel and Ilana. Mom then swooped in to save our girls. Joe and I were financially depleted and emotionally depleted by the medical bills, the adoption, and all that. She made sure my girls had a normal and carefree childhood as possible. Again, she paid for us to fly to their fun house, then their rentals in Florida, on the Cape, and in a farmhouse in Pennsylvania, as an extended family, often including Jonathan and his family. The adventures and fun and laughter and good food, that I wasn't good at either, were just what our family needed. All of my children, Aaron, Ariel, and Ilana, loved their grandmother. And Aaron would say grandmother and grandfather. Plus, Mom showed me the way to find my own power and spunk through the many challenges I lived through. For my career, I followed in Mom's footsteps. I'm a PhD psychologist, and one of our guests here, she was his first supervisor, and he also is a PhD psychologist. And I'm glad he and I were both as gifted as my mom in helping people. As my mom got older, our roles reversed. Now I had the full life, and Edie's life was becoming more limited. She was in constant pain, could barely walk, and was so sad after Bertie's death. Her dream had been that they would die in bed together holding hands. Unfortunately, she lived 2 years longer. I visited more, bringing laughter and love, and took her to medical appointments, along with Jonathan and his loving wife, Lena. After Mom's last fall, I came to help with her recovery. I stayed for most of 3 months, first her hospitalization, and then her hospice at home. Just as she cared for me when I was so sad and overwhelmed, I was there for Mom as she did her work to get ready to die. It has been my honor and privilege to be with Mom through that journey. Mom was at such peace when she died, and now in many ways, so am I. Thank you.
Now Edie's son, Jonathan.
Thank you, Debbie. That was beautiful. My mom, Edie, she was really intelligent. She loved literature, the New Yorker, the New York Times, Washington Post, even lay medical articles, and she passed down her love for reading to both Devorah and me, and in turn we pass it on to our children, her grandchildren. For many decades, she gifted our family subscriptions to the New Yorker, which are still much appreciated. We started just with the cartoons, and then we started reading the articles. My kids have followed. She belonged to a long-standing book club, and many of those participants are here today. Thanks for honoring my mom. Many like-minded women who joined her in reading, and now some of their daughters are in that book club, including Devorah. She was a sharp woman. She had strong opinions, and she was lucky to have had a long and satisfying marriage to Bernie, who she met at City College of New York, which was already said. She was from the Bronx. He was from Brooklyn. They met at college in Manhattan, and they went on a long date walking along the Hudson River in New York City, and that sealed the deal. Now, they had their ups and downs like all couples do, but they complemented each other very well. They filled in for each other's areas of strengths and weaknesses. His passing on March of 2023 was hard on Edie, but she persisted with plenty of friends at Wiggins, now known as Deer Creek Lodge. My wife Lena, and I had long-standing Sunday afternoon visits with Edie. And then Lena developed her own independent relationship, close relationship with Edie, and visited and had coffee with her during the week as well. Edie was full of love for her children and their spouses and her grandchildren. She had a long life. She had survived many medical issues. And when her body was finally giving up, she chose hospice at home. Now, this is never an easy decision, and she actually had a rebound at one point, but alas, her body gave out. I am really thankful for my sister Devorah, who put her life in Boston on hold to move in with Edie, to provide her with comfort, assistance, and love. And thanks to Lena for your healing touch and the love you gave Edie. And thanks to Bridget for arranging us with 24-hour care from very loving, compassionate aides, Joan in the back, and Karen, and Sharia, Alexis, Teresa, and Kimberly, that she relied on for the last 3 months of her life. some of my best moments with my mom. Excuse me. They happened recently during her hospice at home. As I read her poems from A. Milne, like Halfway Down the Stairs, James Morrison, etc., and stories from Dr. Seuss, sometimes I couldn't finish and started welling up in tears. We sang songs together from musicals such as South Pacific, Oklahoma, West Side Story, The Music Man, and I sang her a lullaby, Dream Sweet Dreams. She held on until January 10th to sing me happy birthday. Mom, thanks for giving me life and love. I will miss you.
And now Edie's granddaughter, Alana.
I just want to say I'll miss her dearly, but I will always remember that I took her to the local art museum here, and we had a grand old time. I got to wheel her around and see the exhibits, and from now on I'll always remember her when I go to art museums, and I'm so glad she was able to enjoy the museums with me, and she always had art books for me when I was visit, and I actually was able to, she insisted I take home the Picasso art book, and I still have it, and I'm just so grateful for her, and I'm just glad she's be able to be happy with Grandpa now. Thank you.
We can certainly see through the eulogies of Edie's family the impact that she had on their lives, and I'm sure in many ways on the lives of those of us who are here this morning. O God of life, amid the ceaseless tides of change which sweep away the generations, your love remains to comfort us and to give us hope. Around us are life and death, decay and renewal, the flowing rhythm that all things obey. Our life is a dance to a song that we cannot hear. Its melody courses through us for a little while, then it seems to cease. Whence the melody and whither does it go? In darkness as in light we turn to you, the source of life and the answer to all of life's mysteries. As you are able, I invite you now to rise for the El Mole Rachamim. El Mole Rachamim, Shochein Bam Romim, Hamtzei Menucha Nechona Tachat Kanfei Hashchina, Im Kadoshim Utahorim Kazohar Hara Kiamazirim, Et Nishmat Edith Bat Simcha V'Chaika, Shahachla La'olamo, Bala Rachamim Yastireh B'Seter Kanafav La'olamim, V'Yitzror B'Tzra HaChayim Et Nishmata, Adonai Hu Nachalata V'Tanuach B'Shalom Al Mishkava V'Nomar Amen. Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to Edith Smith, our loved one who has entered eternity. O God of mercy, let her find refuge in the shadow of your wings, and let her soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is her inheritance. May she rest in peace. And let us say together, Amen. You may be seated. I want to announce that the family of Edith Smith will receive friends this afternoon from 2:30 to 4:30 at Deer Creek Lodge, formerly Wiggins Place. The address is 27070 Cedar Road. If you don't know how precisely to get there, you'll pull in the old Menorah Park driveway, and you'll drive all the way to the back, past Montefiore, which will be on your left, and then you just follow that road, turn right, and go up the hill and park in an area there. It's not easy to find if you don't know where you're going, but that's where it will be. This afternoon from 2:30 to 4:30. Once again, on behalf of the family, we thank. What did I say?
2:30 to 4:30? Yeah.
2:30 to 4:30. If you get there at 25 after, you'll be welcome. Our service now will continue at graveside, a private burial for family only. Thanks so much again for your presence here this morning.
Those are acting as pallbearers. You'll put your gloves on and go Mr. Gould right down the center aisle, please. Pallbearers. You're going to step down the center aisle. Pallbearers right in front. Folks, will the rest of you rise and remain in place just for a moment, please? And we're going to follow right behind. Services are concluded at this time. I think most of you have parked over on the Annisdale side. You can try to go out this door and to your right. You can exit to the rear or the front of the chapel, please.
We go with